Moving on to topic 2, let's talk about the draft. Let's talk about what's happening, what's shaking up in terms of 23, who's going where, who's taking what to what show, all that fun stuff, who's getting called up from NXT and moving forward. So, if you didn't know, WWE's held their draft this year, so essentially all the superstars are eligible for the draft, and they can go to either Raw or SmackDown, or if they're on NXT, they can get called up to the main roster. And Raw, because it's a 3-hour show, gets more draft picks than SmackDown as a 2-hour show, and it's just a kind of a rehash to keep things interesting and exciting in terms of storylines for the wrestlers, because you have now new matchups and all that stuff. It seems like rumor mill is they're going to keep the brand split, which I know I like. I can understand the criticisms behind it of why others don't like the brand split. If they do this, the draft is good and it works. If it's this whole wild card rule or anybody can show up anywhere at any time, what's the fucking point? But as of right now, just want to talk about the draft, who's going where, and the call-ups and what I'm excited for. So, draft went over 2 TV nights and then some post-shows where we got some additional draft picks and announcements. So, I'm not going to specify who got called when, but these are all the people that are either staying on Monday Night Raw or going to Monday Night Raw. And these will be the new rosters officially as of recording, starting tomorrow on the 8th. So, Raw's roster. We have Cody Rhodes, Becky Lynch, Imperium with Gunther and the IC title, Riddle, Drew McIntyre, The Miz, Shinsuke Nakamura, Indy Hartwell, the current NXT Women's Champion, Rhea Ripley, the current SmackDown Women's Champion, Seth Rollins, the Undisputed Tag Team Champions of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, the Judgment Day, the Women's Tag Team Champions in Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, with Trish Stratus, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, Braun Strowman and Ricochet, Bronson Reed, Alpha Academy, Katana Chance and Caden Carter, the Viking Raiders, including Valhalla, Dexter Lumis, Candice LeRae, the Maximum Male Models, including Maxine Dupree, Apollo Crews, Zoe Stark, JD McDonough, Natalia, Sonya Deville, Chelsea Green, Akira Tozawa, Los Lotharios, I don't know how you pronounce that, I apologize, Dana Brooke, Emma, Indus Sher, Gargano, Johnny Gargano, Nikki Cross, Odyssey Jones, Piper Niven, Riddick Moss, no longer Madcap Moss, Tegan Nox, and Xia Li. SmackDown. We got Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman, Bianca Belair, the Street Profits, Edge, Bobby Lashley, the OC, including a returning AJ Styles, Damage Control, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, Austin Theory, Charlotte Flair, the Usos, the Latino World Order, Asuka, the Brawling Brutes, Karrion Kross and Scarlett, L.A. Knight, yeah, Shotzi, Pretty Deadly, Rick Boogs, Cameron Grimes, Hit Row, Lacey Evans, Tamina, and Grayson Waller. Lots of changes, a lot of mix-up. So, currently, right now, Raw will have the newly announced World Heavyweight Championship, which will have its tournament starting, I believe, tomorrow, which is cross-branded for some damn reason. Why are SmackDown superstars competing for the new title after a draft? I don't fucking know, but it's happening. So they're going to have the new World Heavyweight Championship. They have the Intercontinental Championship now with Gunther. We are going to have a stupid belt swap with Rhea and Bianca. So Rhea will now be Raw Women's Champion. And we have both sets of tag titles currently on Raw. Over on SmackDown, we have the Undisputed Universal Championship. We have the United States Championship. We have the new SmackDown Women's Champion after the belt swap of Bianca Belair. And interestingly enough, we have the NXT Women's Tag titles with Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. Interesting. So, since we've just brought that up, let's talk about those NXT titles from our call-up. So we have Indy Hartwell, currently NXT Women's Champion, and then we have Fire and Dawn, currently NXT Tag Team, or Women's Tag Team Champions. So what's going on with those? So, As of last Tuesday's NXT, we now know officially what is going on with the NXT Women's Championship. With the call-up, with the call-up and injury to her ankle, Indy has relinquished the NXT Women's Championship, and that will be decided in a tournament leading to the finale at NXT Battleground later in May to crown a new women's champion for NXT. Okay, great. Totally fine there. As of that same Tuesday night show, we had Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, who have been called up to Monday Night Raw, challenging Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, who are called up to WWE SmackDown, the current champs, going over those NXT tag titles. So big red flag there. When they set up the match first, it was like, oh, okay, Chance and Carter can win. They'll stay in NXT, whatever. But now they're both being called up, both going after these NXT titles. Interesting. Fire and Dawn retain. They have not relinquished the titles. There has been no announcement of relinquishing the titles. They are currently NXT Women's Championship champions on the main roster. Now we get the questions rolling. So, 2 routes this can go. I guess 3 if we want to be stupid about it. 3 routes this can go. Let's go with the stupid one first. They relinquished the titles. Why didn't we just do that in the first place? 2, the champions, Fire and Dawn, are going to occasionally pop down to NXT and defend their titles against the non-existent tag team division of NXT. Problem there. 3, which I think is the more likely, and I'm a mixed bag on it. They convert these NXT women's tag team titles into SmackDown women's tag team titles, as Liv and Raquel are both on Raw, and we just make those the Raw women's tag team titles. Pluses and minuses of this, okay? Pluses. NXT women's division currently has no women's tag teams that I can think about. NXT got cut hard with these call-ups. I believe there were 17, what Culture Wrestling said, 17 NXT call-ups. This draft, which, great, happy for a lot of those people. But I can't, and maybe it's my dumb brain, I can't think of any current NXT women's tag teams that are still on the NXT brand. I know we had Kiana James and Fallon Henley, former tag team champions, but they've been button heads, and they're technically broken up after all this Brooks Jensen crap. So they're not a team anymore. We had Toxic Attraction. We all know how Toxic Attraction went. Mandy Rose got fired because of her other thing. And then we're like, oh, we can't keep Toxic Attraction together because we're dumb. We are going to have JC and Gigi fight each other in a blood feud that isn't super great. So they're not existent anymore. Dumb. You had Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark together for a little while, and then Zoe turned heel, and Nikita's injured right now, so it doesn't matter. I can't think of any other tag teams, really. So, I don't know. Now, that can be problematic because what's the point of creating women's tag teams in the developmental brand if there's nothing to chase after, right? So I don't know if the NXT tag team division in terms of the women has a lot of future there. So that could be why they're maybe bringing the titles up to SmackDown. We'll have to see. So anyways, so that's why I don't think those will go back down there. Now, positive. More things for the ladies to do on the main roster. More titles to chase after, more storylines we could book. Not that you have to have a title in terms of making a story, but those ones are obviously a little bit more interesting or easy to do because there's a big shiny belt at the end of the road that we're all chasing after, and it creates intrigue, right? However, as we've seen through many years of wrestling, women's division in general doesn't get a lot of attention in terms of production, like time-wise, like matches or storylines or whatever. And we hope for a better future with that. And, maybe with Triple H being in charge, hopefully he's in charge, we'll get a glimpse of that. We haven't fully gotten a lot of that since the 6 months he's been in charge. That could be, as we talked about in previous podcasts, him wrapping up storylines that were already in motion from the Vince stuff or whatever. That could just be me tossing out blind faith. Who knows? But there's hope here. I will say Raw's roster after this draft has a lot of women's tag teams on it, so that does make it exciting in terms of just the main roster women's tag team titles. If we're thinking alone about those and not the new titles that are being introduced. But now thinking about them again, going on to the SmackDown side of things, the women's roster is a little lacking on this side, I feel, to have 2 sets of belts. We'll have to see. It's going to be interesting. I don't know if they're going to do what they do with the men's titles and unify the belts. Definitely a high chance of that. And then have those superstars, whoever have those tag titles, similar to the men's, will be kind of cross-promotional. I'd be fine with that. I think in terms of the men's tag titles, I don't know if it's necessary now, but for the ladies, I could see why they would do that. It's one of those situations where time will tell what they're going to do, but this just leaves us in an interesting predicament, especially with Fire and Dawn, of like what does happen to the NXT women's tag titles specifically. Like I said, in terms of breaking it down, I think it leans towards them either being merged or being main roster titles, just based on where NXT is at currently in terms of talent. But we'll have to see. So where do I want to go from here? So let's talk about the call-ups. So a lot of call-ups from NXT that I'm excited to see, and excited to see them get their opportunity and their chance. Obviously, Indy Hartwell, we got all of the way except for Theory on Raw, so excited for her. Unfortunately, that ankle injury is rough timing, just from a simple landing or catch. But hopefully she recovers fast, and if she does, then her and Candice can go back to being a tag team, and that would add another tag team to that division, and we could push them. So Indy gets called up. Who else we got here on the call-ups? We got Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, another great tag team for the women's division. We have Apollo Crews returning to the main roster. Zoe Stark, great talent. Excited to see what she can do and add to the women's division. JD McDonough, another good one. Indus Sher is an interesting one. So Indus Sher is Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Sangha. I'm not against them. I'm trepidatious, timid maybe, of the call-up because they haven't done much in NXT, and I'm not sure where they fit into the whole thing. Like, the tag team division obviously needs a little bit of needs an increase in talent. I get that. But as far as I know, when Veer came to Raw for 3 months before he finally showed up, and then we did nothing with him, he went back down to NXT. We rebuilt Indus Sher because this was a tag team prior, like years ago. They also didn't do much there in that first run. In this second run, they fought the Creed brothers, and that was it. And that was like a few months ago. I don't think they've done anything since. Now, I don't watch NXT week to week, so I could be missing some stuff, and also Level Up, but that's a whole nother can of blank. I don't know. This is a weird one to me. I don't know why they're being called up. It could just be to put in the tag division, which, maybe granted, you give them TV time, maybe, they're fine talent-wise. I haven't seen them like, they mess up constantly or whatever. It's just like they haven't been on TV a lot, so I don't know exactly what their characters are besides big Indian dudes who, wear nice suits and just talk like they're better than everyone else. I don't know what they bring to the table. Maybe with time and investment, we could see that. I don't know. Another one that's a little surprising, but not in a bad way, is Odyssey Jones. So Big O, Odyssey Jones, showed up at the NXT Breakout Tournament 2 years ago. He's another one that I feel like they just haven't done a whole lot with in NXT. He's had a couple matches here and there. He's another one who seems smooth and fine in the ring. Haven't seen anything that is, at least from a viewer perspective, once again, no wrestling experience here, seemed bad or seemed like it's gone wrong. It's just one of those weird ones where he hasn't had like a storyline on NXT, really. He shows up, he fills a spot, and that's about it. So he's got a good look to him. He's got a good, unique look to him, too. Like, he's a bigger guy and has a different moveset. So, hopefully the variety will help and, will kind of add to the diversity. But yeah, just weird in terms of like wasn't doing anything in terms of push on NXT's main roster. So we'll have to see how he does on Raw. How do they use him? Looking forward to it. Just odd. So those are the ones going to Raw from NXT. So we get a few there. Going over to SmackDown. We talked about Fire and Dawn. I think Alba Fire definitely deserves it. She's been crushing it, whether it was NXT UK, NXT USA, whatever. Dawn just came back. I think she was also in UK, but I could be wrong there. But they make a good team. I don't know if they officially have a tag team name. Vic Joseph always said Unholy Alliance. I don't know if that's actually it. But I'm sure they'll do great, add something to the women's tag division. And even if they're individual characters, I think they're good too. So great to see them up there. Pretty Deadly. Yes, boy! I think that's probably my most excited one. Or one I'm the most excited for. They had a good program with the New Day when they went down there. They are the shit heels that everybody wants. It's going to be a little weird because they are very close in terms of gimmick to Maximum Male Models. They are on differing shows. Yes. So won't be the end of the world. But they're comedic. They're funny. They, are solid in the ring. I don't know how threatening they will be, but I think they could be like an annoying, comedic, entertaining tag team that will, I think, help and add to SmackDown and whatever program they are in. So looking forward to that. We have Cameron Grimes finally moving up to the main roster. He's kind of been on this hiatus since he did that one program with OC backstage on Raw once. But so he's a big question mark just because I have no idea what his character is, if they're still going to be doing the whole, guy who hit it big on the stocks kind of thing, or if they're going to go back to his more country roots. I have no idea. No idea character. I know he's been bulking up, it seems, and working out, but he's a big mystery in terms of story, character, and connection, what will happen there. And then SmackDown got one more call-up in Grayson Waller. And a little bit weird placement, honestly, of his call-up. He was on the second post-show and, like, the very last pick. I thought he would have been a main roster. Like, hey, we're on TV and we're going to announce you calling up. Grayson's great. He's a shit heel. Like, he's easy to hate. He's athletic. He's a great talker on the mic. I was lucky enough to see him when I went to Monday Night Raw months ago. Saw him in a main event match. He's great. He's someone who's been constantly in NXT storylines, but just never has broken through to win the NXT title or the North American title. But he's always constantly doing something, and he just checks the box and everything. Like there's never any doubt with his part of the storyline. He just wrapped up in NXT. His last match was a great, brawl and grueling non-sanctioned match with Gargano. That was great. He had good programs with Braun. Well, I guess that was technically one of his last ones. That was good. If he was in the North American title picture, that was great. Good stuff from him all around. Solid person to have. So excited to see him on the main roster and bring it. And he'll be definitely someone I feel like that wins over crowds with his charisma. Like, he'll be somebody that just clicks automatically with them. So no worries there on his success. Last but not least, let's talk about free agents. Yeah, there were free agents in this draft. So people who went undrafted or chose to be free agents through negotiations, ? So these people can go anywhere and do anything and show up at any time. Because reasons. All right, so free agents. We have Brock Lesnar, no surprise there. Omos, Mustafa Ali, Dolph Ziggler, Von Wagner from NXT, Baron Corbin, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, Elias, and Zion Quinn from NXT. Okay, so Brock's not really a surprise. It's Brock. He comes in, he gets money, he gets the while everybody freaks out to his music, and, he's there. You call him in whenever we need him. Totally fair, totally fine. Omos, they made a whole deal and shtick that MVP negotiated for the free agency, or is trying to win Omos a bigger contract, blah, 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 by testing the waters and doing that shit. Okay. Ali, Ziggler, Corbin, Benjamin, Cedric, and Elias are all interesting ones to me. I would say the most interesting ones to me currently are Ali and Ziggler. Ziggler we saw glimpses of down in NXT when he did the whole program with Braun Breaker. It was exciting. It was fresh. He got a title win, which was shocking. But we know Ziggler can work. So that experience to help someone down in NXT, whether it was obviously Breaker or other talent, would be interesting. I think Mustafa Ali could do the same thing also down in NXT. Ali is a great in-ring person. I know his characters haven't always clicked in terms of the general audience. I've enjoyed what he was doing with the CWC and his original gimmick. I liked Retribution at the beginning, and that had a lot of potential, and then we shit the bed there. Not his fault. And then I know he's doing the Positive Ali dancing gimmick thing now, or kind of jipping and jiving everywhere. We'll see there. But when he's in the ring, there's no doubt there. So if he were to go down to NXT, I'd be intrigued just to see him mix it up with talent like Wesley or Axiom or Dragon Lee or Ilya Dragunov, like that kind of group and division. See what we could do there, make some magic, help those guys out. In terms of just experience and reps, not that they need it, but it'd be it's one of those not dream matchups, but it's intriguing because it's different and new. So I'd be excited to see where those two end up, whether it is main roster or if they hop down to NXT, even for it's a little bit, just to see what they do. Corbin's an interesting one, because what is he doing? And then the rest of former Hurt Business, Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander, is another question mark of okay, Cedric, technically could be another Ali and Ziggler with what he can do in the ring if he was also somebody who went to NXT. Benjamin, hell, has been around for, 20 years at this point? Any four of these guys going to NXT, working with those talents, building them up, getting reps, helping them get more comfortable TV, wrestling, whatever it is. Great assets. It's a head scratcher, I guess. Elias, another one. Him and Baron are probably the most confusing in terms of main roster guys, because I have no idea what you're telling story-wise with these guys. They haven't done anything. We set Corbin up with JBL as a manager, did nothing with it. Elias and Rick Boogs were going at it for a little while, and Boogs was shadowing him. I don't know if there was ever a conclusion in that storyline. Elias is on this weird path since his whole Ezekiel long lost brother type deal. No idea what's going on there. Then if we want to get to the even more confusing head scratcher stuff, is we have our two NXT free agents here, and Von Wagner and Zion Quinn. Now Von Wagner, I'll give him credit. He's been on NXT TV pretty consistently since debuting way back when, having his initial tag run with Kyle O'Reilly, turning on Kyle, going heel, and being managed by Robert Stone. Okay, he's been consistently on TV. isn't, I'm sorry, anything super special. He's a big dude, goes raw and beats up guys. Hasn't been in any hasn't been in any main storyline since his Kyle O'Reilly stuff. Anything super compelling, no title shots, opportunities, anything like that. This last Tuesday, they teased at some story with Mr. Stone and Wagner's past. But if he's now not going to be on NXT, then why even start something there? That seems off. I have no idea what they're going to do with him. Zion Quinn is another wrestler on the same boat. Except Zion Quinn, as far as I know, hasn't done jack anything in God knows how long. Zion debuted, I believe, during the NXT 2.0 era. Oh boy, we all remember that. They tried pushing him. He's got a good look. He works fine, but has no personality. Pushed him for a little while, tried to establish him as one of these new faces you're going to see. And as far as I know, he's not done much since. I know he had a little program with Wes Lee when Wes first was out of MSK due to Nash Carter leaving. But I don't know if he's had anything quote-unquote main storyline since. He might have been on Level Up working on his experience. So this is just a weird one that is of why he's included in the free agents. They must have something planned for him. I'm just curious as to why. Due to what he's done in the past, and I guess work experiences sound weird, but what has he done? I don't know. So, some interesting shakeups happening in the draft. I'm very excited for a decent amount of the NXT talent that is called up. Excited to see them get their chance on the main roster. Hopefully see that they get a continued push on the main roster. It's not just a call up and then they're in catering, as the joke is. Hopefully they can continue working with them, establish themselves on the main roster, find success there, and keep going. And just excited to see what storylines do come out of this. I'm not excited for, a lot of people, the stupid belt swap for the ladies. I think we need to stop doing that. I think maybe champions on each roster should be exempt from the draft and not even be selected. They're just automatic people you have on your roster. Or I know some people have thrown out the idea of generic titles for the women's championships, not a SmackDown, not a Raw, but similar to the men's, you have a Universal or you have a heavyweight. I don't think they would want to use the term weight in terms of, the women's roster, but something, like a generic title name. So it's not, we have to hand over the belts to one another, and then we get the whole drama thing with Becky and Charlotte like last year's. It's just a silly exchange that's unnecessary. So yeah, if we could do that, that would probably be my only fix. But once again, I know a lot of people are bitching about that, so we'll see. We'll see how things start and take place tomorrow as the shows and new draft rosters kick in. So yeah, this is going to be another episode of The Wait, where we're talking about podcasts. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011. Appreciate you guys hanging out today with me. If you guys want to catch the show live, you can go over to twitch.tv/Enigma9011. Drop a follow over there and you'll get notified when we go live with either the podcast or stream, so you can join in the chat, join on the chaos. But if you can't catch it live, that is a-okay. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can help us out, like, shares, reviews, whatever it is. It may seem small, but does help the channel grow, helps us succeed. So if you take the time to do that, we would truly appreciate you for it. Thank you guys for hanging out so much today for both of our wrestling filled topics. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, had a good time. Thanks for watching, thanks for giving it a listen, and we will see you guys on the next one. Take care.